Good
Sorry.
morning, everybody.
Good
Hi,
morning.
hi,
Good
Sylvia. I'm just
afternoon.
taking us live. We're live now. So,
Okay.
good afternoon to everybody in Europe and Africa, and good morning to those of you in North America. I'm really pleased that you've decided to tune in to this special edition of the Packard Network Live, where I have a very special guest, Miss Silvia Ayuso from Madrid, Spain. Sylvia, welcome to the program today.
Thank you, Packard. Thank you,
Great.
Brett.
You're
So
welcome.
happy to be here with you all.
Yes,
We have
absolutely. Well, this is
yeah,
going to be a great conversation, and I'll
yes,
just take a moment to introduce you, Sylvia, to the audience. And I'd like to, before we really get going, I'd like for those of you that are tuning in live, please feel free to engage with us and ask questions and challenge what we say. And the objective of this is to introduce a wonderful woman to all of you, but also to provide some value to you, specifically around the areas of women's advancement in the world, with careers and with impact that women are already making. But if you're looking for tips to further accelerate your own agenda, or if you're a male, for example, and you're looking to accelerate the women on your team, this conversation is just for you. And Silvia is one of the top 5 most trailblazing women CEOs to follow in 2023, and that's according to the CIO magazine. And those of you that saw the original post for this can certainly hear more detail about it that way. And Silvia has more than 25 years of international experience, including 10 years at the United Nations in New York. We'll talk about that in a moment. And for 10 years, she's been an expert in transformational leadership for women, providing coaching, advice, and support for CEOs, managers, and leaders. So you don't need to just be a CEO to benefit from this conversation. So please bear with us on that. And she's also an international speaker on topics related to women's leadership and both personal and professional development. So, and finally, Silvia has a degree in communications and a master's in international relations and nutrition and food and health, as well as an array of accreditations in women's leadership, diversity, positive psychology, mindfulness, integral coaching at various universities in the United States of America. So, Silvia, with that, welcome again to the program. I hope I didn't miss anything with your wonderful credentials.
Oh, you're so wonderful, Brett. Thank you so much. It's really great to be here. I was really looking for this day, so let's talk. I hope everybody asks questions, and let's share today. So I'm very happy to
Yes,
be here.
yes, absolutely. And I'll be dipping in and out of the LinkedIn chat. So again, please let Sylvia and I know where you're tuning in from if it's live. And for those of you that are watching this on replay, I know most of you will see this on replay over the weekend, at least 3,000 of you. I've been doing this for about 2 years, and I know that 3,000 people from my network will actually see this. Please do feel free to engage with Sylvia and I, even when you're seeing this on the replay. And we're on LinkedIn all the time. We'll make sure that we respond to you as well. So please let us know where you're from if you're dialing in live as well. And so Sylvia, let's talk for a moment about maybe you could talk a bit about your adult life, the journey, and how you actually wound up where you are right now doing what you're doing. And I'd specifically love if you could kind of talk about your experience at the United Nations for a decade in New York.
Yes. Okay, that's great. Thank you, Brett, for the question. Well, I'm 55 years old right now, and around 10 years ago, I thought I was happy, but I was not, I didn't feel completely fulfilled, And I went through this personal journey to really discover what I have to do to become happier in my life. So this journey drove me into the pursuit of helping other women to achieve their dreams. So I decided to become a transformational leadership coach. And it was very funny because I remember so many people, including relatives and friends at that moment, they told me, "Are you crazy?" Yes, it seems that I was, but I have to pursue my dreams. So here I am 10 years after, and I'm fulfilled. I feel fulfilled. I live in my dream. I live in my passion, and I'm on a mission to help women achieve that fulfillment.
How do you, Silvia, tell us, how do you know you're fulfilled, right? A lot of people talk about being fulfilled and not fulfilled, but how does a person, based on your experience, know when they're fulfilled?
Well, this is very personal, right? For me, fulfillment, I mean, if I can split between my professional area and my personal, my family, my friendship, my career. So professionally, I could work for hours. This is amazing because working and helping people gives me so much energy and vitality, and I'm never tired. I'm never tired. When you live your dream in terms of career, I mean, this is an amazing feeling, and I extrapolate into my personal life because in my family, everybody talks about what I do. Everybody gives me a recommendation for women, even my children. So it's like we live in joy from my work, and it's an amazing feeling, to see, for example, my husband and my children so happy or recommending me tips or mom do this post. And I mean, it's an amazing feeling. So I feel very happy every day when I woke up. I'm like, wow, today more. And it's great. It's great.
That's great. So you're never tired. You have the work-life harmony with your family. You wake up ready to go every day. And so it's just these feelings and the emotions. And that's really how you know that you're fulfilled, right?
Yes, absolutely. Like I say, it's very personal, but for me, I live in fulfillment right now because I enjoy every day what I do, and it gives me lots of energy, lots of vitality. And when people come back to me and they tell me, "Well, you have transformed my life, or you have helped me so much," it's an impressive feeling. So
yeah, absolutely. And for me, I think you're right, and I appreciate you pointing out the fact that it is personal. For me, I know that I'm fulfilled when I have peace of mind, and everything that I do in my life, the number one goal that I have every day of my life is to have peace of mind, and that's just how I know. And if I have that, I feel fulfilled, and if I don't have it, I'm not fulfilled. So I think it is different for each person. But you said it's completely personal, and it depends.
Yes, and it's very interesting. Now that you're saying this, if I have to say something related to what I said, for me, it's smiling. I smile every day. So my physical reaction to my fulfillment is I am smiling because I'm content, and that's great.
I think that's wonderful as well. Michael Thomas, Michael, thank you for all your support. Welcome. Michael's tuning in from Birmingham, UK as well. Hey, Silvia, so tell us briefly about how you wound up at the United Nations for 10 years, what you did briefly, and what you took away from that unique experience.
Okay, so let me go back a little bit in time.
Sure.
When I was 19, I think this is a very interesting topic because when I look through my life, there is something that really sparked on me, and I always been able to take kind of measurable risks. So when I was 19, I was recruited by this international fashion company, and they took me to move to New York, right? And I for them for a couple of months, almost half of a year. I was 19. It was a very luxury company. They pay me a lot of money. And at that moment, I measure, do I really want to have all this amount of money, or do I want to go back and develop, like a higher career looking into my future? So I decided to. And then I applied to I decided to stay also in New York, and then I applied to the UN, and I went through all this examination and process, and I was recruited by the UN, and I spent there 10 years, and it was an amazing, being in New York, you are in a melting pot. Being in the United Nations is being in a melting pot within a melting pot. So it was amazing. I mean, I recall the first years looking at everybody, because for the first time in my life, I was meeting people from all over the world,
right.
countries that I never even heard, women dressed in different styles. And it was amazing eating within the UN building. They have this big restaurant, they have international food. So you are able to eat 25 years, 30 years ago, for me, it was like, wow, eating food from all around the world. It was an amazing experience working there. So, the UN is in my heart. So
yeah, absolutely. And it certainly is. And I think I would just like to encourage everybody, with technology today and, digital platforms and the ability to network around the globe, I would encourage everybody to please reach out to people from different countries, different cultures. If you're unable to travel, a lot of people are unable to travel. And if you are able to travel, don't just think about traveling within your country. Think about traveling and getting exposure to people from around the world. I've worked across 30 countries over my career. Silvia's worked in a lot of places, and she has dealt with people from more countries than I have worked with and inside of. And that's a lot of countries. And so the experience that you'll get and the personal fulfillment from exposure to those different cultures is truly a unique experience, and it will help solve many problems and challenges that you might be faced with. I recently, I don't want to get too far off topic here, Silvia, but I think that you raised a really important point here around diversity. And, just yesterday I posted something to my network talking about crisis and the fact that I shared my experiences and provided some solutions for people to work on so that they can prepare for adversity in the future. And I would not have picked this up had I not been exposed to other countries, other cultures, other people. And one thing that's a lot of people are talking about now in the United States is the Great Resignation, quiet quitting, and all of these other things as well. And I don't talk about those things very much because they've already been solved in Singapore, in other parts of Asia. And I hear these endless conversations, including people chatter on television, which I don't watch very much of, about all of these problems that employers are facing and the younger generations are facing. And, these problems have already been solved. The whole world went through the pandemic, and the whole world had to deal with the same issues. And there are parts of the world that already solved it. And so I kind of call the people talking about this whiners and moaners, because all they do is complain and they're never happy. And so it's just another example of what Silvia just mentioned to all of you. Get that exposure, because it's an exhilarating experience, and it will help you excel in the business world, and including the example that I just gave as well. Anything to add on top of that, Silvia? Sorry for the long-winded. I
love it, Brett. Thank you, because you raised very interesting points. I mean, not only the one that I mentioned, but also I tend to look at life as solving problems. I don't, you don't want to stick in a problem. you don't want to bring the problem. You want to solve the problem. So I kind of always in a move situation. I always looking for new challenges and solving problems. And this is the way my life has been, really, from the one, if I remember. And I think it's a great way,
I think it's great. We're going to talk a lot about critical thinking and problem solving, but I agree with you. I think it's, what you just said about don't create the problem, don't bring the problem, but solve the problem. That's the number one thing that Elon Musk looks for in hiring people, is that capability to solve complex problems. That is one of the three things that I found in dealing with the Asian leading teams through the Asian financial crisis, through the 9/11 aftermath, as well as the global financial crisis all around the world, is actually the ability to solve complex problems. Throw yourself into it. Don't avoid problems, and don't get sucked into the complaining and the victim mindset. And, once again, for these people spending all of this wasted energy on work from home, go back to the office, all of this stuff, just look at Singapore. They've solved the problem. So these problems don't need to exist, and the solutions are already there. And countries like Singapore are up and running and leaving the United States in the dust. Silvia, let's talk. I'd like for you to talk a little bit about, you've worked with hundreds of female CEOs and managers and leaders. And congratulations, by the way, on being recognized recently by CIO magazine. I think that's you're definitely one of the CEOs that I'm watching, and I'm very proud of you and proud to know you. Can you tell us what it takes to master self-leadership?
So it takes a lifetime. It takes the desire to really embrace change, and it takes the motivation to become better for the world. And this is my goal, the better, the more aware that I of myself, the better that I know myself, the most that I can improve, and the better that I can provide for people, for my community, and for the world, really. So at the end is the motivation of most people. We tend to live in a life that it's okay, but can we get better? Do we want to improve? Do we want to provide? Do we want to make the world better? And at the end, it's answering that question. It's a yes or a no. If you want to, you do everything that it takes to achieve that goal.
I think there's a lot of women that would agree with you. But then the question that I'm always asked, because I spend a lot of time helping to open doors for women and create opportunities for women that I know can do the job. And my question for you is, if they answer yes to that question of self-leadership, what is their next step? How do you actually help them walk through that door?
Yes, this is a very interesting question, because most of the time women say no to the question, because we tend to think that we know ourselves enough, and that is, but the truth is that when you want to lead, if you want to become a great leader, you cannot lead others if you don't lead yourself first, if you don't know yourself, if you don't understand your emotions, if you don't understand your whys, if you don't understand why you do the things you do, it's impossible to lead others. So even if you don't want to go through the self-leadership, you must do in order to become a great leader. It's the first step, really. So they need to embrace that.
Right.
It's very important.
Okay. So once they embrace that point, then what are some of the things that they need to then do to make it happen?
Well, they need to be committed. and they need to be accountable or responsible for everything they're going to do within the programs that we're going to establish. The way I work is a personalized program for every woman. Some women, they want to work more in the communication areas, others they want to work more in the leading team. So it depends on your objectives as a women leader, right? So
right, absolutely. And I had somebody on this program, I don't know, a bit over a year ago. She was from my former team at Barclays Bank in Zambia many years ago. And she is an amazing leader that always had the attitude that if there's a seat at the table, that she wants to get a position in the bank that she wants to get, she actually takes that seat. That's her attitude. She says it to herself. That seat belongs to me. And I'm going to be assertive, and I'm going to do what's necessary to take that seat. Have you dealt with people that are assertive like that? And then the next question is, have you dealt with people that maybe they're not so assertive and they don't really have the aggressive attitude? And then how do you work with them to, or what would your advice be to them to still go for that seat?
Yes, this is a great question, Brett. Women, we tend not to be assertive. If we take, for example, a case of a job posting, a man will do a match and he will say, okay, I'm 70% into that job posting. And he will go for it and he will apply. A woman needs to be almost 100% sure that she qualifies for that that job. So yes, we need to change our mindset. We don't have an assertive mind as women, and we tend to wait for things. I like to say we tend to wait for miracles to happen. And we tend to wait to be appointed instead of taking the step into the opportunity. So this is one of the areas that we need to work. Believe in yourself, change your mindset, being positive, and really, you will ask me how you do this. It's about taking risks. So men take risk. We kind of not take risk. So we need to push ourselves forward, and then we'll see. I was not, when I decided to leave my career and become a coach, I was not a coach the first day, but I took a risk, right? So it has taken me 10 years of training, development, and learning and all this, but it's the only way. If you know that you want something with passion in your heart, then you take the risk, and then you learn and you train yourself and you do what you have to do to achieve that goal, because you're achieving that goal every day, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that I would just provide some advice to everybody watching this, the women watching this as well, and men, that very rarely is the risk turn out to be as bad as what we think in our own mind in real life, right? It very rarely does it turn out to be so scary that what we think in our mind. Have you found the same thing, Silvia?
Yes, actually, this is very interesting because I give you an example. This is a very human way of thinking. We measure. It's not only men. It's not only women. It's also men. If I have to consider, if I want to lose, if somebody asks me, would you rather lose 5K or have the opportunity to win 5K? The answer to that question is that I'd rather not lose my 5K.
Right.
So instead of having a losing mindset, we need to have an opportunity mindset, Right. But let's look for the opportunity. At the end, we know when we are not happy. This is the main pillars. We want to achieve happiness, the pursuit of happiness. We all want to achieve happiness and love. So let's do it. Calculate a risk and have financial security. We want to change jobs or whatever, but let's do it. Let's do it.
Absolutely. COVID has, as everybody knows, created havoc to the global economy, to companies, to careers, to individuals, everyday lives of people. And a lot of what it's also done is disrupted many different industries. So it's disrupted, for example, a lot of technology companies like Zoom, Apple, the high-tech companies Amazon did very well during the pandemic era because they were ready for it. Now what we're seeing, though, is with the exception of Apple, is the only remaining U.S.-led high-tech company not firing masses of people. That the tech sector is now getting hit pretty hard. So a lot of the things that have happened in the COVID era economy, which is what I call it, have definitely caused enough disruption so that people are looking to navigate a career change. So they're looking to maybe change their career. Maybe they've been a banker their whole life and they're looking to become an engineer or whatever. I know you work with women to help them navigate career change. What trends have you seen in Spain and elsewhere around what COVID has done, and how do you actually help people in an environment that's changing like this?
Well, this is a great question, and I see many different variety of people, not only in Spain but international. So when I say, okay, let's take risk, but we need to understand why we're taking this risk, because people tend to come to this situation of changing, okay, it could be, I'm not talking about career transition, rather than quitting your job and starting your own business or something like that. And people come to these situations for, I think, three main reasons. Either you're stressed, you're burned out, or for women, you have reached your ceiling, right? Before you take a decision, you need to understand, why are you experiencing this stress, this burnout, or is any possibility to really overcome, the situation before you take a massive quit. So because what I have seen, and this is very important, because I have seen many women leaving the job because they're burned out or they're stressed, but actually it's not really what they wanted to do. They felt like they wanted to escape. And now many women are actually transitioning to going back to the corporate world, because starting a business is very complex, it's very difficult, and it takes a long time to build up your company. It has taken me 10 years. It has taken you a lot of time too, Brett. So, we need to take the risk. Right. We need to understand why are we doing this, and going to be committed to do this for a 5-10 years period. Am I gonna perseverate, into my goal, into my passion? Because many people quit before, because it's very difficult, and they really never wanted to quit. So why we do things is a very important question that we must answer before we take any step forward. So like I say, I've been helping many women transition, and they end up going back to the corporate world, actually. Yes. That's
it. That's really interesting. Is that specific to Spain, Europe, or what are you?
No, this is Spain, United States. I've seen women in the UK. I mean, all around Europe. So mainly where I work. So
this is interesting, and so what you're saying is that when COVID happened, many people left the corporate world and they went and started to kind of do their own thing, and now you're seeing a trend of them going back to corporate.
Yes, I'm seeing that experience. I'm seeing that. Yes.
That is very interesting as well. And are they going back to the same job that they had before, or the same industry, or are they shifting industries? What trends are you seeing?
Most people go back to the same industry. There's I mean, this is personal, but most people go back to the same industry. Yes. Once you solve the problem of burned out, or you understand why you have the stress, and you overcome or you are achieve that well-being, and you understand why you do things. So I think it's something that we need to look up.
Yeah, just an interesting, I know we're getting a little bit off topic here, but this is really fascinating, the point that you've raised. And it's a trend that I don't hear a lot of people talking about, but I have also noticed a similar trend in people that I deal with as well and engage with in my network. And that is, a lot of people left the corporate world when COVID happened, not because they were laid off. They voluntarily left, and then they thought they would try something else, and they tried it, and now it's not working out, quite so well. And maybe there's maybe there will be a recession coming as well. So they're worried about that. Are you finding that the reason why they're going back to the places that they've left is because they're running out of money? Is that why they're doing that? Or they're just, they just said, I made a mistake, I should never have left. What are you finding in terms
of that's a good reason. I mean, your financial situation before you decide to quit your company and start your own business or whatever you decide to do, you need to calculate, at least the financial situation needs to be a calculated risk, right? You need to have your financial security. So yes, I see that, which is unfortunate because many people, they leaving their passion behind because of financial money. But really, I think that's the minimum. When people decide to live in passion to their, in my case, for many years, I didn't invoice because, when you start your own business, but at the end, and I see this in many people that leave their job or their career or their business with passion, it's not about money. It's about happiness and what you provide. So the people that are going to, in general, the people that I see, the women that are going to go back to corporate is because they maybe have left because their well-being situation was not the right one. So once they saw, they understand they can overcome. And also because they have matured and they have understood that there is also opportunities for them. They can step up into the opportunity instead of waiting for the opportunity to come. And this is something that I'm working very good with all these women. You create the opportunity in the corporate world or outside, but you create the opportunity. Don't wait for nobody to offer you the opportunity. Create it yourself. And
good point.
Must do every day.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot more jobs available now than there was back then.
Yes, absolutely. And the tendency is going to be, they're talking about the prices, but in the United States, we've seen, growing in the offer for jobs. So, and the same in Spain and in Europe. Okay, so.
Absolutely. Good. I'd like to just for a second here, welcome Jasmine to the conversation. Jasmine's coming in live from Stockholm. So not too far from you, closer to you than I am at the moment. And we have Donald Massengate here as well. And we have Aiza Adnan here as well. Thank you all for joining in. And we'll just please do tee up any questions that you might have. And Silvia and I will be happy to tackle them for you. Silvia, let's get back to another topic that you help women with. And again, you have a lot of experience in dealing with women at the C-suite level and also down at the management level. And so I have, in my career, appointed a lot of women, promoted a lot of women. That's part of my legacy, actually. And one of the reasons why I was very interested in talking to you based on the work that you do. And one of the reasons why I've done this, one of many reasons, is the creativity by women is typically far higher than men, okay, in terms of new ideas, problem-solving capability, etc. And a lot of women in today's workforce, they have great ideas. We know they're creative, but they have difficulty communicating that brilliance to the leadership that they're working for as well.
Yeah.
I know you work with women to help them use their voice to make sure their ideas are heard. Can you talk a little bit about some and maybe give some advice to the women watching us right now on some things that they can work on to make sure their voice is heard?
Yes. This is fascinating, Brett. So women, we tend to believe, I won't say in general, but we tend to believe that we're not 100% good at anything, okay? And we live in constant doubt, okay?
Yep.
So this prevents us really from growing our career and our personal life, because we always insecure and we always expecting others to reaffirm, our wins, our success, or anything. So I think it's very important, like I said before, to once for the first step that we need to do is to really be committed into the change that we want to make. And just do it. Many people ask me, so how do I do that? So just do it. Take the risk, measure the risk, of course, but just do it and learn through the process. So how do you raise your voice? We need to start talking. We need to start sharing and networking. But this is another aspect that we can talk about. It's very important. But we need to start sharing what we want, because if nobody wants, if my previous boss didn't know what I wanted, how could I ever get the dream job in my corporate world? So most of the time we are silent,
right?
And we accept our fate. We want, but we don't share, we don't communicate. So it's about time to share with our colleagues, with our bosses, and with everybody our goals, career-wise. So let's share. Let's use our voice to properly communicate our dreams.
Right, absolutely, as well. Yeah, I agree with you. What role, I want to get into probably the most important question and topic in today's world. And I've been talking a lot about this lately with my network, and that is critical thinking and the ability to challenge what somebody says, what they think they believe, that type of thing. Just because John said it, you should believe it. Well, maybe not, because maybe John didn't work at the United Nations for 10 years. And maybe John doesn't really understand the customs and culture of the Middle East. So maybe just because John says, well, people in the Middle East think this, but John's never been to the Middle East, maybe what John is talking about should be challenged. Do you have any thoughts on this particular topic based on your extensive experience?
Yeah, definitely challenge. I mean, but to challenge an idea, we must have research and the knowledge to challenge. Okay. So to do that, we need to spend time doing this, and to gain or to create a critical thinking, you need to spend time studying, researching. I think. Definitely. People like this is what I'm trying to say. So critical thinking, don't take for granted anything that anybody ever says. I mean, make your own decisions. Don't allow people to tell you how you need to live, where you need to go, or how you need to feel. You need to decide that for yourself. And for that, you need to spend time with yourself. You need to understand what are your values, your pillars, and your strengths, your abilities. So you can have the tools to expose yourself and to think.
Yeah, and be careful about who you surround yourself with. Be careful about the media that you consume. Not only the type of media, but don't consume excessive media
Yes.
because I guarantee you that will lead to depression. If you,
yes, I agree on that. Yes.
yeah,
For many years, I choose the news. I search and go for the news that I want to listen, to read, or to understand, because I think we are bombarded with so much noise that is really taking the focus away from what we want to do. And this is very important point you raise here, Brett, because this is fundamental. This is fundamental for your mind, for your mindset, and for your daily life. If you are depressed, because I mean, it's okay to recognize terrible things that happen in the world, the Turkey, but you need to go back to your focus, because
I agree with you.
It's terrible.
Don't let what you consume you. I think is really an important point. If you think about it, and if you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is read the newspaper, you're probably going to be depressed based on what you read, because of the murders that took place and the crime and all of these terrible things that media just loves to carry on about, which may not be reflective of everyday life, right? So it could just be careful about what you consume.
Absolutely, and this is where I give you for many years. I mean, I don't watch television. I select the programs that I receive, and I go to the newspaper and I go through and I understand what's happening in the world. But then to gain deeper knowledge about something, I select my news. But recently I said, let me do something a little bit different. Okay, so I subscribe for very first time in a long time to a very important newspaper. I'm gonna unsubscribe next month, because you are bombarded with very terrible news every single moment. So I'm getting my inbox, and this is very distracting. So
it is. I for those that follow me, you've already heard this, but I limit my news consumption to 1 hour per day. But I read 5 different newspapers from around the world, different parts of the world. None of which I'm proud to say are from the United States.
Yes.
And that's how I get my news, and no television news as well. So that's not necessarily the best way to do it. That's the way that I do it. And then that limits my consumption, and certainly doesn't poison my mind, throughout the day. So I think that there's different ways to do it. But the bottom line is what Silvia and I are both saying is that don't let what you consume you, because that's really no way to live, right?
Absolutely. And I will extend this to don't allow the things that don't deserve that you don't need to do. Don't do them. I mean, we do so many things every day that don't take us to succeed, to the success that we want to do. So this is something that we need to evaluate as career women. What are the things that are allowing me to succeed? Look back in your story. What are the things that I have done great? How can I replicate this? And stop doing all those things, personally or professionally, that are not helping you to succeed. So for this, we need to do a constant review. This is very important. So yes,
absolutely. Yeah, that's right. And I'd like to welcome Wilson, Mervyn, Lyndon, Alexander to the program. Wilson, thank you for tuning in as well. And again, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to tee them up here as well. Silvia, let's talk about, you mentioned earlier problem solving, and that don't bring problems, don't create problems, but solve problems. But there's a lot of problem creators in this world. What I've found is that a lot of people are very good at creating a problem, and then they want to work on solving the problem that they created. What's your advice in such situations towards being able to proactively solve problems?
Well, the first thing that I will recommend is to be creative. Use your creativity to solve problems, and try to solve problems in a completely different way, because we tend to solve. One of the main reasons why, there are people that create problems, but other people, the majority, we stuck in the same problems always, because we address problem from the same perspective that we addressed that problem 10 years ago or one day ago. So we need to look at problems and use our creativity to bring new solutions, because it's not about bringing solutions, it's about bringing new solutions. So bring new solutions, use your creativity, take risks,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to present, my advice, I completely agree with you. Don't be afraid to propose and solve problems a certain way, because those problems are not being solved by anybody else. That's why the problems still exist, right? And it's still lingering out there. So don't be shy about, presenting, especially for women, creative solutions. I have given some of the most complex problems over the course of my career to women. And the women have always solved those problems. Okay. And so I think don't be afraid to apply your creativity.
Yes, absolutely. And because also there is no right or wrong. I was recently in the UK in London, and I visited Westminster Abbey, and I encountered, I didn't know it was there, the tomb of Stephen Hawking. So when I came back to Spain, I decided to watch the latest Netflix movie, which is a beautiful movie. I highly recommend you and everybody else. So what I learned in this movie is that, Stephen Hawking was a cosmologist, right? So he decided to create the theory of time. And this is my reflection, okay? It's a personal reflection about this part of the movie. So he created the theory of the time. Right. And when he presented, people went, oh, and people went, oh, no, right. But it didn't matter. What it matters is that he believed it was the right theory to present to the world, because he deeply believed in that theory. What amazed me is that 30 years after, he created the counter theory of the previous theory. And that was also right. So when I look at these two theories, that is not right or is not wrong, what is important is your creativity to solve that problem at that moment in time, and that you believe in that, so you can present it to the world, right? So, yeah, that
belief is so important, and because that belief will help you with your resilience when everybody's doubting what you're talking about and the problem that you're attempting to solve, right? Because there will be doubters, and usually the people that doubt what you're doing are those that are problem creators, not problem solvers.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the most important thing is believe in yourself. I read recently, I mean, this is a well-known data, but you can take, for example, there is so many examples. J.K. Rowling presented when it was rejected by 12 publishers before she was accepted by one, to give you an example. So, if you believe in yourself, you go through and win. So use passion to connect.
How have you, in the past, with your own career, Silvia, dealt with disappointments, and how have you been able to recover from a disappointing result and continue to keep going?
Yes. This question touches me, because for one very long part of my career, I felt that I was in opposition to the world, I will say, or rather say that the world was in opposition to me. I was not able to use my voice. I thought I was not listened. I thought. And then when I went through this personal journey, I discovered that the world is always going to be there. It's going to be noisy. People are not going to change. But what we can do, we have the possibility to change our mindset and the way we think and the way we address the world. So it's not about changing the world. It's about changing yourself, changing the way you perceive yourself, and changing the way you want to establish, and changing the relationship that you want to establish with the world, right? So I like to say that we are the filters of everything. Everything comes through us, comes and goes. So it's up to us to really change our relationship with people around us, our colleagues, our family, our friends, because what it matters is what you do.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly right. And I think the important part there is to make that choice. We all have a choice.
Yes.
And the question is, which choice will we make, right?
Yes, which choice will we make? I think women, we tend to think that we need to choose. And there is something that affected me, the imposter syndrome, you're not good enough. And then I have to choose my personal and my career. At the end, we don't have to choose, and when people talk about leadership, it's not about corporate leadership, become the leader of your entire life. Of your personal, your career, your anything you want to put in that circle of life. Become the leader, lead yourself. Don't allow people to lead you. I mean, learn, experience, accept, be compassionate about you and about the people that surround you. But at the end, it's you, your decisions, and your goals. So,
absolutely. I mean, that's your point around self-leadership, right?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, before you can lead others, make sure you can lead yourself. It's a basic principle that everybody talks about, but yet you don't see it a lot in a lot of companies. Yeah.
No, you don't see it, but it's fundamental. We must lead ourselves before we can lead others. Because I'm going to give you an example. What we do affects people. If I'm coming into a meeting with a bad mood because my husband didn't pay me attention this morning, that meeting is going to change.
Right.
Absolutely. There. Yeah. So if I understand my emotions, I can bring positiveness into that meeting room, and I can make that meeting room flow in the direction that I want to flow. Right. So that's how you lead people. Leading people is not about telling them what to do. It's about inspiring them to do it before you ask. Right. So for that, you need to understand yourself, your emotions, and how you can relate to people across those emotions. So it's very,
I
very
think you're right. Spot on. Birds are meant to fly. That's why they have wings. But if you keep a bird in a cage all of the time, they can't fly free. And for those of you that are leaders out there, think of that bird analogy, that your people, they have wings. You've got to let them fly and support them in that endeavor. If you put them in a cage, they're not going to be around very long. Yes.
And the great thing is that we can learn to do this. I mean, before I always been very shy. So for me, when I made the decision to become a coach and to be a keynote speaker and speaking out there and sharing, I have to answer this question. I'm going to commit myself to communicate. And if you do, my answer was yes, you need to train yourself and you need to practice. So everything is doable. How committed are you? Yes. So.
Yeah. Silvia, as we start to wind down our conversation here, this has been very useful. Would you say the biggest lesson that you've learned as a woman entrepreneur the last 10 years?
The biggest lesson that I learned as a women entrepreneur is that, many, I will say many, but focus on what you want to achieve. I recall I have a SETI there. This is my this one. I have a SETI there, and many times I went there and cried and thought of quitting. But then I looked back and I said to myself, so why are you doing this, Silvia? And my mission, my passion was very clear. So I came back and kept the work, because I couldn't stay there crying for a long time. So focus, connect to your passion, and don't give up. Just pursue your dream, because dreams are achievable. I live in my dream, and I want people to live theirs, career or personally. So
I think that's a wonderful way to conclude this. And, we've heard you say this several times over the course of the past hour, that go back to the why you're doing it, because if you can do that and really have an honest conversation with yourself about why are you doing something, it will ground you in what you're doing, and you'll be on more of a solid foundation, so that you can continue to go forward when the times get really tough, because the times are going to get tough. I was telling somebody yesterday that COVID, a lot of people think, okay, COVID came and it's a big problem, but hopefully it's going to disappear soon, and then that's it. That's not it. There will be something else, and I don't know what that will be. I don't know if it will be another war or a recession or another health crisis. We don't really know, but you had better be prepared for the next COVID type of shock to the system, especially if you're an entrepreneur. Because it's difficult going. And I think the advice that you gave, Silvia, is phenomenal, around asking yourself, why are you doing this? And whenever you start to have that doubt, just go back to the why. And are you fulfilled? That's how you started this out. Do you feel fulfilled doing what you're doing?
Absolutely. So absolutely. This is so important, because it helps you. Like you said, it doesn't only serve you the purpose of understand the direction that you want to take. It also helps you to connect through the difficulties. It helps you to stay focused. So it's a wonderful thing to do. Spend time with yourself answering these questions. So yes.
That's right. So Silvia, what is the best way for people to reach out to you to learn more about what you're doing and how you can help people? And could you also include the geographies that you focus on and that type of thing?
Yes. So I work with women all around the world, United States, Australia, South Africa. I'm here to support women that are committed to themselves into that pursuit of their growing in their career. So you can reach me through my in LinkedIn. You can find me in LinkedIn, also through my website, www.silviaayuso.life, or you can send me an email at coaching@silviaayuso.life. So I'm here. Looking forward to meet you all. I hope. And
I'll make sure that we get all of that posted when I repost this conversation, probably tomorrow or over the weekend, and so that everybody knows how to reach out to you. Silvia, thank you very much for taking the time to come talk to us today. And you're an inspiring woman who's on a great mission. I admire your background, your experience, and the work that you do to make this a better world. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brett. The admiration is mutual. Thank you for having me today. And I hope everybody has enjoyed and learned some tips on how to.
I know that they have. And for those of you that tuned in live, thank you so much. For those of you that will see this on the replay, we really appreciate you tuning in. Please feel free to engage with us and let us know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about anything that we said. And I'll look forward to seeing all of you again next time, where I'll have a special guest on the Packard Network Live.